Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of VFX Circle. Today I am joined by David Cordon. Hi David.
Hello. Hi, Haley.
Thank you for
Thank you so much for
joining.
having me here. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. So we're going to go straight in with the questions. With VFX Circle, I'm looking to interview people about their experience, but also about the industry in general and where we're going as an industry. So, with that in mind, I'll just give you a quick intro to David in case you don't know of David yet. David has worked in our industry for over 10 years, starting out in coordination roles to running departments across studios including MPC, Cinesite, Envis, and DNEG. Now, David is giving us a backstage pass into VFX via carefully curated talks with key players in the industry. So David, as I said, you've been in the industry for over 10 years now. Can you give us more of a deep dive into your career progression, highlight some projects to date, and why you got into the industry in the first place?
Sure, of course. Let me start saying that this feels really weird, like being in the other side. I got so used to be in the other seat that now with the same setup and stuff like that, it really felt very weird. So, but it is really great to be sitting here with you. So I mean, my background is very I guess very broad. You can say that I'm sort of a generalist in the branch where I belong, which is production. I've been doing all sorts of roles and work in all sorts of projects, from very big blockbusters to indie films and so on. Um, and yeah, I think I've just been very lucky with the timing as well. I started in MPC, as you said, in a coordination role, and it was for Jungle Book, which went to win the Oscar that year. So the best possible start for me. Then I went into DNEC as a line producer, and it was in the middle of the departmentalization process. So there was a lot of opportunity and a lot of collaboration and areas of experimentation in what the modern workflows, that they have in place today were at the time. So similar experiences with Framestore, and then MVis most recently. It's just like I've been lucky that I got there at the right time where I could do a lot of growth together with the company.
Mm, nice. Well, yeah, we've both worked at MPC. I think pretty much everyone I speak to has worked at MPC at some point along the way. Just thinking back to the very beginning and getting into VFX, getting that first role, what was your
Mm.
sort of perception of the industry at the time? Did you have stars in your eyes? Were you super keen to work on a big blockbuster? What was your general feeling personally and professionally?
Mm. I think all of us, for what I can gather, talking to a lot of people now in different roles and that came into the industry from very different routes and at very different time, I assume that we all had stars in our eyes when we joined for the first time. And I think something that at least I found unifies us, like in no matter where you work in, like where you sitting at, like if you are an artist or you in production or you are in marketing or you are, it's that real love for filmmaking or movies in general. So I'm not exception in that sense. I actually was looking into making film and TV my everyday job, and that was the main motivation. I didn't know anything about visual effects, like zero. But I managed to get an interview with MPC through a friend who was working, who's his flatmate at the time was working in MPC, and they were searching for people, and MPC had a lot of flaws. Like the management style was pretty brutal, and there was a lot of toxicity in many ways. But they also it really was an accelerator. Like you needed to be good and fast. Like you'd be thrown into the deep end, and then save yourself if you can, and that was a really good experience. Also, the people around you were really, generally had a really good people, like good professionals, but also generally good people, like human beings. And so it was kind of like a weird mixture, in a sense of like to be the first experience you have into the industry, because you saw things that didn't seem normal, but you didn't really know what the normal was. And it wasn't until I landed in DNEG that I could actually compare the one to the other. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the things are obviously my experience is different. So my perspective, my perception of the industry has matured quite a lot. But in a way, a lot of the problems we had back then are still around today. So there's not much that has changed in terms of like, well, there's been a fair amount of change, but a lot of the problems, we still have the underbidding, the fear factor, the nepotism, the lack of standardization across like all the vendors. So a lot of the things that really affected us back then is still around. And Scott likes to point us into the one direction, which is the business model is broken. But which is true, the business model is broken, has been broken for a long time, and it really is affecting the way that people interact with each other. But I think most importantly, the amount of time that we've been trapped in that broken business model and the consequences of it is what is really difficult now for people. So it's the lack of togetherness, the culture of self-preservation, and all the stuff that goes with it. It's kind of like me first. And I'm not a cynic. I know that people have a necessity to put themselves first, and their family first, and then everything else comes second. But if we really want change, and we really need change, it's a very tricky environment. It's a very tricky situation we are in to actually inspire change, and we need it so badly. But yeah, so my perception is I feel is different than it was. I don't care so much about names of the projects. I don't care so much about tags or anything like it. I'm more focused on the quality of the people you work with, the belief system, and so on. But I still enjoy I like both the indie films because they crafty and they beautiful, and the blockbusters because even if sometimes they are not in that kind of like artful category, they still pushing the boundaries of what's technically possible, and I really love the challenges. So
yeah,
it's a
well, you've part answered some of my upcoming questions as well, but I guess the other half to my original question was going to be, how are you feeling now, cut to 10 years later, about the industry just generally? We've identified there's so many challenges and problems right now, but like you personally, how are you feeling about the industry? Is it somewhere you still want to be?
To be honest with you, I don't really know. I mean, I think so, and the main reason I think I'm still kind of like trying to fight myself about it is because I had. I come from a very hectic background. I've done many things in my life, and everything has only one thing in common. There's always been driven by passion. So I left home when I was 15 years old, and I started sort of like searching around. And every time that I found something that really felt like a call for me, I just went in with everything. And this is the first time in my life when I actually have been, have found it tricky to make that decision, to turn my back and walk away and just go. It really is the first time that happened, and that made me think quite a lot about how I feel personally about the industry. And I think I love the industry. I always knew I loved the industry, but I think this has taken me to a different level. And I know the reasons why I love the industry. I love the industry because is a learning machine. Like it really demands you to keep pushing yourself, and that is heaven for me. That is the best possible environment where I can be working. And people are incredibly amazing. Like there's a lot of I've never met like so many clever people in my life, like all together in one room. And so that really is pulling me back. But I'm not going to tell you that I haven't really haven't felt encouraged to just walk away, because I mean, who tell us that in 3 years we're not going to be going into exactly the same situation, and this is a cyclical thing that we're going to keep experiencing. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about the recent events?
Oh, it's your interviewer vibes are coming back out again. Yeah, I mean, we've spoken a few times before this, and we're both on exactly the same page, I think. We both resonate with, you mentioned Scott earlier. Scott Ross has a book out about Upstart. I have a question on him later. But his book really resonated with me because of everything that he's saying about the industry. Just all makes sense as to why we're having so many challenges. And obviously it's so complicated. The film industry is so huge and so complicated. But a lot about our industry makes a lot of sense when we look at the business model, and that really makes you question the longevity and strength of the industry for the long term. And I feel like, and you mentioned passion, I feel like the film industry is very lucky that it has so many passionate people in it, because I'm sure so many people would have walked away before now. The people in our industry are so passionate and want to do what they're doing above all else. So it's sad to see that it's so negative at the moment, and it goes so much deeper as well, with so many people out of work. So yeah, I completely feel the same way. Is there a future in the industry? I want to believe that there is, and I think that having that belief, you have to keep going and finding the good in it and the good people that can make things change is going to be key. So conversations like this is really important.
Yeah.
So talking about passion again, looking at what must be a passion project for you, Pixel Puzzle. That is a great series of podcasts, talks that you've carefully created with lots of great speakers. Can you tell us a bit about that? What was the sort of driving force behind it, and what's your overall mission with it?
Well, I think, I mean, the main inspiration was I got affected by the strikes, like majority of us, and after sort of like the blues period of like trying to get yourself together and kind of like, oh, this is just what it is. We're gonna get back on track. Pretty much like a second COVID, right? A lot of people refer to it like a second COVID. although this time around was very, very different for many reasons. But yeah, following that, I found myself reading, checking on internet and seeing all the hate campaigns and reading about the so-called streaming wars and so on. And it's not so much that that was part of, it wasn't really something that we had a direct involvement in. We just got caught in the crossfire. But still, there was a lot of negativity around, and because a lot of people didn't understand as well, like they felt an urge to just backlash against it, like the started talking about how management don't care, and how they get all these salaries but they get paid nothing, and then management went in and pointed out to the executives, and the executives went to the studios, and the studios went to whoever, and it just felt that there was a lot of it was like an endless loop of as much as you follow and trying to make sense of it, it didn't have a resolution. You just get caught in that loop that it never ends, and so you kind of like forced to take one side and then just be there defending your rights and so on. So in my case, I thought the very best chance I had to contribute in the way I believe it was the best approach was through learning and knowledge. So it was trying to remain neutral and remain objective, and trying to build something which seemed like a crazy idea when I started. That was almost kind of like a 360 journey, where even if you didn't know anything about visual effects, you could start from very much from scratch and then build up the knowledge. And in the same, we've been trying really hard. This has been really difficult to preserve value for both insiders and outsiders at the same time, because especially in the at the start of the series. But our main mission is just to make visual effects accessible to everyone. And I'm very proud of what we've achieved. I mean, we're halfway in, but the response have been really amazing, and I've learned quite a lot from it.
Yeah.
And I had my own awakenings in certain aspects of the industry, which was good. But yeah, so
Nice.
that's us.
So mentioning Scott Ross earlier, I believe he's episode 4 of.
Yeah. He's an amazing character.
If you haven't read his book, thoroughly recommend it. It's called Upstart. You can buy it on Amazon, and it's also an Audible now. Yeah, it just confirmed a lot of things for me, and it's great because he gives a bit of a personal backstory as well for his own career. Yeah, just it was great to have such an open, honest conversation, because he's still in the industry, but he's not really working day to day in it, so he has that free reign to really tell it how it is, which is great. Was there anything surprising from your conversation that came out of that, or
with him,
with Scott? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, everything was surprising. I mean, back to the time that I haven't really even met the guy, but I mean, I think it's worth starting saying Scott is 74 years old. I think we just commented on this before we joined the call, and he's razor sharp. Like he's not. It's not that just he's smart. He's eloquent. He's fast. He's kind of like and I couldn't help myself just trying to imagine the 36-year-old version of Scott when he started at ILM. That was one of the things that surprised me the most, because I've heard about Scott before. I was aware of his reputation and what he's done for the industry. I wasn't aware of all the being, as he call it, like clear out of the history of visual effects. But more, it was more about the story behind Scott, and the fact that he just, I chat to him few days before jumping on the call, and he mentioned the book, and I thought like, oh right, and I bought the book, and I was absolutely shocked. Like I didn't expect, I expected, we just talked a moment ago about the consequences of the business model, the self-preservation sort of like culture that we live in. And that's what I was expecting. I was expecting like a VFX legend with a cape and, turning around sort of like, I'm here, behold. But as I was reading the book, I thought, wow, I mean, this guy, this guy is for real. Like he didn't really, he didn't mind. Like he put himself up from right there for the open, and he admitted a lot of things, a lot of his mistakes, a lot of, and even I think a lot of things that he's still working out, like where, due to his background and his approach to life, as he say, like, I'm in your face, and I could relate to that because I have very similar background than Scott has. I'm just from Spain, but there's a lot of similarities, the love of music, the background from lower socio-economic background and so on. And I could really relate to what he's saying. I just sort of like, I don't know, it shocked me, and I didn't agree with a lot of the I'm in your face kind of style, and I'm gonna, I'm not that we have in Spain we have a say that is I will break before bend, right? And it's sort of like that's what defined that kind of behavior, right? When you coming from that kind of background, that you just like, nothing will stop you. And I didn't really agree with that in a sense of like, I don't think it's the solution. But when he started talking about, I regret having that approach, and I should have stepped back and learned from how to make things better and have a better influence to get what I wanted. It's just my respect for him kind of like blew up. So by the time that we jump in a call, I had such a crush on him that I it's true. I was trying to, it's the most nervous I've been so far in any of the recordings. And my mind was, I have the ADD brain already, so I just go in every direction. But with him, it was especially difficult because I really wanted to show him how much I admire some of majority of what he's done and his career and his creative choices. But also I wanted to hold it together. And one of the things that he helped me understand for the podcast is the fact that I really need to remain neutral. I'm such an opinionated person, and with the podcast is people are not here to listen to me, and I shouldn't really, but most importantly, I shouldn't really interfere, because it's very easy for you when you drive in conversations to steer people into one corner and to try to kind of force them in a nice way to that direction. And I found myself trying not to do that with, in many occasions. But with Scott was kind of like a very clear dichotomy where I really love the guy. I really love the guy, when he talks, where he comes from. I mean, the guy was like Miles Davis, Ronnie, like it's incredible. I mean, before even he jumped into visual effects. So I found it, I learned a lot of things through that conversation from the industry and outside of the industry. But the main thing for me was to find out that he was vulnerable, that he didn't have all the answers, that he was frustrated about the same things that many of us are, and we don't have a tenth of the career, the trajectory that he has had. I mean, that's as much as high as you can climb, right? Being in charge of the most important, or one of the most important studios, or two of the most important studios in the history of visual effects at the time where they were, as they call it, in the golden era. So it doesn't get better than that. Mm-hmm. And still, he has done the same mistakes for the same reasons, is frustrated about the same things. So it was a very important teaching that we are all the same. Like, we just put different masks, different tags about ourselves, and we carry ourselves in certain ways. And again, the self-preservation culture makes you, look certain way or be more transparent. With Scott, it's kind of like you have no barriers. And I can see why people feel intimidated by it, and it's too much for, you know, it would be too much for many people. But I really loved that aspect of him, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yes. Without this turning into a Scott crush talk, I also
Session.
have a bit of a crush on him now, and I think it's because also, I mean, a lot of people say similar things, but because he's been
Mm,
in those senior positions, we don't see a lot of people. Okay,
no.
given that he's not in a position right now, he's you know, he's an advisor now, so he's not in the day-to-day running of a company per se. But it's great to see someone from that sort of stature talking about the
Mm,
industry in an open
yeah.
and honest way. And I wish every industry was the same, and we could just say it how it is. This is what needs to change. This is how we need to do it. Let's do it.
Mm,
Let's come together and do it. And let's stop suffering.
yeah.
And there's obviously a lot more involved in that. He talks about, and then we'll move on from Scott after this. But he talks about what he wanted to start a trade association for the visual effects industry. We're pretty much the only industry
Mm,
in the world who doesn't have a trade association, which is insane. It didn't work
mm,
out for whatever reason. You'll have to find the reason in the book. So,
mm,
but you know, I feel like it's what we need, and I don't know how viable it is, but him saying it just gave me a catalyst to start looking into it. And
yeah.
yeah, it's just it's great to, well, we're talking about it now, and now hopefully lots of other people will watch this, and maybe they'll go read the book, and they'll talk more about the business model, and who knows where this could go.
Mm,
So these small conversations can lead to bigger things.
yeah. Something I would say that is really, really important to me, and is where I slightly differ from other people that has taken this too literally, is that I do believe that in order to make it, I mean, making this work, like the idea that he presented is amazing, it really is viable, and it's logical, and it makes sense. The difficulty here is that first, the dynamics have already been created and held into place for a long time. So for one party to just give that away, it's just unrealistic. But also, a lot of people, I hear it in LinkedIn and other platforms. We need to come together and force them out, or do this our way, or whatever. I don't think that's never going to work. I think the only way this is going to work is, again, is with knowledge, is understanding. If we make a real effort to understand the motivations and the positions of all the parties involved, and are ready to make compromises to make a better industry and to rebuild the industry, that's a possibility. Now, with the position we have right now, where people don't trust each other, when people want to hold into power just to make their way and all this stuff, that's the difficulty around it, or the main difficulty. Like, who do we trust? Because there's a lot of one of the things that the signs of, like, that broken business model is that we in a place right now where we have exchange the politics for leadership, right? There's a lot of people saying the right thing. There's not as many people doing the right thing, as in doing the right thing no matter what the consequences, and sort of like pushing in one direction without forcing it in, or without sort of like pointing fingers. How many people really are doing things like that? Because they are afraid, and it's completely fine to be afraid. But until we're not able to break that barrier, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to aim for real change. We can make up here and make up there, but we need something more solid than that. Much more solid than that, and there's a lot of people who can have influence over that.
So going back to Pixel Puzzle, tell us a bit about your other speakers, and any particular highlights for you, just going in the sort of stream of learning. Was there any particular
Hmm.
conversations that stood out to you?
I mean, you're gonna think that I'm just biased, but I I generally enjoy every single session, and I was part of that journey. I was part of, I was trying. It wasn't always possible to kind of like do linear recordings, like do all in the right order, but we have done as much as we can in like that. And because it was important to me to create connectivity as well and to allow them to, so I would send the recordings before going public to the guests so they can listen to it and then have a bit of background knowledge on it. But the I have, I have enjoyed all of them, and I can give you a lot of highlights about each one of them. I mean, from the very first one, who don't belong to the industry, which is Dan Shriver, who just jumped in because he thought it was fascinating, and he was kind of like interested about the industry, but he never sort of like experienced it in that way or had any inner knowledge. So he thought, yeah, why wouldn't I do this and do that? And he was one of the ones that really pushed me to actually make this a reality. And then, Ian Fales gave a fantastic talk about the whole history of visual effects. Little I knew that he was writing the Ireland book for the 50th anniversary, because he didn't really reveal that at all. But I can understand now a lot of the things that came up, and yeah, all of them. We had only one seat. The more talks that we were doing, the more knowledge there was about it, and I've started receiving requests and talks about second season, which I'm not planning to do at the moment, but maybe, I don't know. But there was only one guest per topic, and that made it really difficult because because who you have and how do you approach it to give the most value to the listeners and and the followers. But yeah, I mean, Sophie, I don't know, like every single one had brought in a lot of. I think that the thing maybe that I could highlight is the fact that every single one of them come from very different backgrounds, but all of them came on board because they were hooked up with a mission. Like when I say that this wasn't like a for like an industry talk, it was literally to do the opposite, to trying to welcome more people to the industry and to trying to fill the gap for people already working in the industry, and especially for peripheral workers, directors, producers. They were all kind of like, I mean, I love it. Like, I'll help you also promoting it. I will, all of them, like every single one of them. So I just, I've been very lucky. I think the surprising thing for me was how welcome and how helpful everybody has been. And the fact that they didn't tell me, they actually show me how much they care and how much they wanted to contribute to it with action, with actual, outside of words.
Yeah.
So
nice. So have you completed series one?
Season one.
I know, only on HBO.
Yeah. No, I haven't completed it. So we're going tomorrow. Julian Fody's episode goes live, which is episode 7. And then we have recorded some more episodes, but we have gaps in between. So we still have, it's going to land in 14, 15 episodes in total, which is more than I initially planned for. But as we were developing the project, it just sort of like, there was a bit of a stretch that, but it was all natural and it made sense. So I expanded a bit what my original plan was. To accommodate for some people that really wanted to be there, and I thought
this is you now. This is you for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
There's no escape.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a bliss. I had the time to make it happen, and I had a lot of support. So I think in normal conditions, because I never did, I've never done this before. This was completely new to me. So I don't think if I was in the normal dynamics that I found myself in when I was full-time working, I don't think I would have had the time or the energy to the capacity to actually put the work behind to give it the push that it needed.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you there. With World VFX Day, it's you can do as much or as little as you
Mm,
can, but there's always so much to talk about. Our industry is amazing, and like you say, the people are
mm,
amazing. Really, really are so supportive of each other, and it's why I've been in it for so long. So
mm.
yeah, let's keep the conversations going. So what is next for you? What's coming up?
What is next for me? It's a good question. I don't really have the definitive answer for that. And I think it's just going back to what we talked earlier, is that I still find myself in that fight where I'm trying to convince myself that this is everything is going to go back. I'm not in no illusion that's going to back to normal, whatever we call normal before. I know that it's going to change and it's going to be different. But I still have the hope that I can go back into visual effects full time. But there's also a ticking clock. I mean, I have a family, and they, as supportive as they are, we do need to move on at some point. So I'm not really sure what my next obsession is going to be. But I hope it involves, visual effects in some way or another. But I'm not just gonna. I'm not. I came in making noise, and I'm not gonna leave through the back door. So I'm still gonna finish the podcast, and I'm gonna be doing a circuit, and for people to get bored of me, I'm probably they already are, because I'm pestering people all the time, sending them information, posting things, and LinkedIn. So I'm gonna keep doing that for a while, and then what my future is, I don't know. I'm still searching for opportunities and hoping that visual effects will be part of that. And meanwhile, I'm keeping myself busy doing a lot of little freelance jobs in other areas.
Mm.
Um, and I perhaps should say, at the end of this month, we are going to shoot a short film after a long while, a long break, and yeah, that's really exciting, because we a big shout for our producers who found the funds to make it possible, and to the writer Cathy Hennessy, which is an amazing writer, and I have a very special creative bond with. So we're just prepping for that, and we have an amazing cast, amazing crew, and we'll see what that feels like.
Oh, that sounds very exciting.
Yeah,
Well, hope
it is.
maybe you can come back and we can talk more about that and the process, or at
Yeah.
least we can check back in a few months, 6 to 12 months, and see where we are personally and professionally. But
Mm.
yes, I haven't asked you your hopes for the future of the industry. Quite a big question, but I guess to end on, is there anything that you wanted to add on where you hope the industry will go in the near future?
I really hope we find the way of making this work. I really hope that people start sort of paying more attention to to things that are really worth investing your time in, and be less distracted with the carrot sort of like and the short-term solutions, and that we all able, and we say all because we are all guilty in some way or another, because that's where we've been brought into, and we have normalized it because there's no other way to carry on. So it's more kind of like an introspective journey where we can see what went wrong with us in particular, what have we done or haven't done that we could do differently, and that we can start doing differently, and help, and sort of like think of it a more cohesive way as a group rather than as a group of individuals. And yeah, and that's the best hope I can have, that
Mm.
5 years or 10 years from here, the industry looks very different, and that we are in a very different position in the whole ecosystem that we are part of.
Yeah, and this is all a distant memory. Well,
Let's
David,
hope.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. I'm really glad that we got to make this talk happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's stay in touch, and we'll talk again soon. I will.
Thank you. And I know firsthand how hard this is, and that you are in the same boat, and that you're doing amazing things and making a great effort to make us visible and to have a voice. And I want to personally thank you for that, and also encourage you to keep going.
Oh, thanks. It's turning into a therapy session. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And anyone who's watching, yeah, things don't always look as shiny as they are. I haven't been working in marketing for a while, wanting to stay in visual effects. So World VFX Day is really keeping me going in terms of just keeping my brain going, keeping the connection to the industry. So it's not all rosy behind the scenes, that's why we need conversations like this to keep everyone together and yeah, be just support each other. So I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye, Hayley.